And Jimmy gets there about halfway through my presentation, and he's in the back of the room going, okay, this is legendary. I don't know what he's doing, fucking, you know. So I keep talking, and what he was telling me is, Dan, oil and gas come up the same hole, not separate holes. I'm going to say this again. A lot of people don't even know that. They come up the same hole, and then you have a separator. Okay. Well, I didn't cover that in the presentation, so it didn't matter. So I'm going through, and I'm showing, and I got the pointer, and I'm doing this shit. And I used to like, it was right at the beginning of laser pointers. So I get back where ship is, and well, man. So I get a standing ovation. Jimmy comes up, and he says, we got to go. And I go, why? He says, because I don't want him asking you any questions. And I go, why? The charts are upside down. The motherfucking flip charts are upside down. And that's why I say it's all bullshit. This is the National Association of Cocksucker Cymics, whatever the fuck. And the charts are upside down. I get a standing ovation. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And Jimmy didn't want me to answer any questions. Well, I couldn't answer any questions. And he's going like this, though. If they ask, one hole. And then I learned afterwards a separator and all this other bullshit. You don't need to know. All you know, I need to know is how to ask for the fucking money, the check. Just like a hooker. You know, I know you don't want to hear it. You're just like a fucking slut prostitute. I mean, guys, why is it so hard for you to accept this? Because your mother said you shouldn't go, you should go to bed with dogs, you get up with fleas, right? And after 15 years of being whatever you are, you don't want to be considered a slut. You're just selling. If you don't get that through your fucking meatheads, you're going to have a hard motherfucking time with this. You're asking for the money. And you're not doing anything illegal, immoral, unethical. What's wrong with asking for the money? You don't exactly know what to do with it, but you're just asking for it. That's not illegal. You've got a world-class board that's telling you what to do with the money so you don't get in trouble. What the hell's wrong with that? Nothing. Now it's funny, but in India, the Indians like not knowing anything. Fine, we can ask. They didn't give a shit. You know, half the time they don't know what they're doing anyway. So I mean, it's no different than the other half of their business model. And it's not that hard. It just isn't. It just isn't. Occasionally, one of you will actually know something about the industry. That's cool. But it's certainly not a requisite. It's certainly not a requisite. And initially, you'll look for, when you go out, if you haven't already figured out what you're going to get involved in, occasionally you'll as he said, that he gravitated towards people that were like him. And that's wrong. You should not be, you'll attract them. You should not be recruiting. That's what I'm trying to say. Recruiting people like yourselves. It's not because there's something wrong with you, but I mean, if you get aboard of guys just like you, with the greatest respect, you know, you're poor. So why would you want to attract a bunch of poor people? Because you're comfortable with them. You're comfortable with them. And but his biggest challenge was and is the fact that he overanalyzes stuff, or at least he used to, and two, he in the beginning was more comfortable with people, and he's left out the part of all the ball busting I did on him, you know, over those months. And it's consistent, just as Jamie said, all the ball busting, and Dennis said all the ball. That's consistent. It's consistent with the people that are successful, and the people that can't take the ball busting quit. That's as simple as I can make it. I don't know any better. Woody Hayes and Bobby Knight and I are all from the same mold, and they had world champions, and so do I. So either you want to be a world champion, stroke Olympian type person, Olympian mean Olympics, or you don't. It's pretty fucking simple. And the formula works. And I gave you the 1,800 calls, 1,500 calls, 1,200 calls, and I already know you all wrote down the 1,200 calls. I already know that because that's the short. You think that's the shortest, And then pretty soon you'll cut it from 1,200 to 1,000, and you'll cut it from 1,000 to 900, and then you cut it from 900 to 0. No. Well, some people in this room think they're cold calling motherfuckers. Okay, but I used to bust Scully's balls about it. He thought he knew how to make calls. I forgot, with the wine I drank last night, more about calling than he knows, and he's successful. Correct? Yeah, he's successful. He's a kid that came through about a year ago. Smart kid. Brett that moved to the U.S. He's in San Diego now, isn't he? L.A. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir. I want to say, somebody asked me in the YouTube, why do I say sir to all these guys? Now, I already answered to these guys, but I want to answer to the YouTube guys. Why does somebody senior, which I'm senior, to everybody in this room, call you yes, sir, no, sir? Because my mother raised me with manners. And since I'm a little boy, when everybody's senior to you, or to me, I said sir and ma'am, and I still do to this day. Yes, sir, no, sir. So it's out of respect. Okay, go ahead.
When you say members who aren't like you, aside from the economic part, of course, and the success, is that also in the sense of the Kissinger to Trump continuum and of the personality?
I don't understand the question.
If you're more soft-spoken, for example, do you want a Donald Trump type, and vice versa?
Well, not necessarily Donald Trump, but if this is Henry Kissinger and this is Trump and Ayatollah Khomeini, you want at the very minimum some in the middle. You may not get somebody at this end. I had a board meeting a couple years ago at the Jonathan Club. I had the meeting. It was time to have a board meeting, and one of the board members, after he had a few drinks, didn't have the balls to tell me this. He says, Dan, you're the kind of guy I've always wanted to say "fuck you" to. And he's a PhD, London economics PhD. I said, well, how do you feel? He says, feels good. I said, have a couple more drinks, and then I'll punch you and knock your teeth out and see, how good you feel. But, you want them in the middle. You want them in the middle. Occasionally you'll get a guy or a gal at that end, but it's not required. Plus, there's less of those guys than everybody else. Again, 98%. There's only 1 or 2 alpha males on that wall. There's only 1 or 2. You don't have to be. And it doesn't necessarily help. It's just who your personality is. That's just your personality. Anything else? Okay, YouTube, thank you. Good night.